Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. Over there is Jacob Litton. We're still recovering from Thanksgiving. I probably should have ate some more to drown some of my sorrows. Lions fall to the Packers 31-24. We are going to do something a little different just because Jacob and I could not get together over the holiday to do a proper biting recaps. We figure most other podcasts have did that and we're kind of behind the curve. So we're going to talk a little bit about the game, but we're also going to talk about the playoff race, our feelings on the Lions in general, and then also the Frank Ragnow situation, which I know we didn't do an emergency pod like everybody else because we were really busy, and it's kind of a good thing that we didn't because we'd have just wasted our breath essentially. So we could talk about that whole situation in general. So Jacob, how was your Thanksgiving?
So I work every year on Thanksgiving. That went pretty smooth. It was okay. Tried to watch as much of the game as I could. Had to listen to a lot of it on the radio on the drive home. But yeah, I ended up getting to watch the whole second half. Food was good. Dinner was good. Family was good. Football was not.
Yeah.
Only got worse later. Continued to get worse the rest of the weekend. What a nightmare. What about you though? How was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was good. Went to the game, which, as you can imagine, that part kind of sucked. We, at least the game itself. I mean, it was fun to watch the game and everything. It's sad that the most exciting thing that happened that day was Eminem showing up, for a halftime show. Sarah was all on top of that, man. She knew. She told me ahead. She goes, "There's a trap door." She could find it with her binoculars. She knew that something was coming. And then right when they started doing the left, right, left, I was like, oh my God, that's Eminem's Till I Collapse. And I was like, this could be really, really cool. Jack White and Eminem together. They should be doing a song together because they're both awesome. Eminem could rap over rock beats. And it was pretty cool. It was fun being there with the boys, watching them get super excited. When they come up because they had never seen Eminem live perform like that, so that was really cool for them.
Awesome, but you're right. Shame that was the biggest memory, the biggest highlight.
Halftime show general.
There was something
good,
to remember.
I mean, Jack White did an awesome job just on his own. Outside of the whole Eminem thing, he could have played and it would have been awesome. But Eminem showing up was just icing on top of the cake for that halftime show.
I like that Jack White is like a true fan too, like with the Tigers and everything. Like he's a Detroit sports fan.
Yes, shows up at a lot of the Tigers games. He was at the Red Wings game the next day. My boys went to the Red Wings game on Friday, and they said Jack White was there. And I'm wondering if Jack White showed up for the Pistons game later on the night. We weren't at that game, so I don't know. But I had to work the next day. I had to work on Friday, but our father-in-law, who's dealing with some health issues right now, unfortunately, had tickets for the game. End up giving them to my wife and the boys, and so they ended up going. And they always buy an extra seat, so there was actually a fifth seat for me, but I couldn't go, so they just had an empty seat next to them.
It's the nacho chair. It's where you put your nachos and stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's right. Yeah. Like I said before, we had the drink seats or the drink rail seats before, and those were awesome.
Oh.
These were not drink rail seats, but that is what it's like when you have the drink rail seats. You got the table in front of you. That was like luxury, which I've never had before. It was awesome. Now I'll be wanting those every time.
I had the opposite of luxury this time. So, usually like when you do the Pistons or the Red Wings, we go, like the club seats, all you can eat and everything like that. My cousin got free tickets through work for the Toledo Walleye game.
Okay.
And they got 4 seats. So, him and his son, and they invited me and Milo. Well, Knox was very upset. So in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to do the same thing I did for the Pistons game recently, which was I'm just going to buy a ticket, the cheapest ticket in this place. I'll just buy a ticket for Knox just so we get him in the door. And then he can either sit on my lap or best case scenario, there might be an empty seat like in the row or somewhere. Like we can figure this out. There was no empty seats in the row, and Knox was not willing to sit on my lap or share seats or anything like that. So luckily for us, the section we were in had like a rail dividing like where the stairs go up and down. It was like a rail where you couldn't walk anymore, which had to be perfect. But then as it was, I ended up watching the game from the ground, kneeling up, trying to get up when the puck was coming down, getting back down. So that was not as fun. And the wall I lost. So just add that to the list of things that went wrong this weekend.
Yeah, if anyone like is around in the area, the Toledo area, I do highly, and you've never been to a Walleye game, I do highly recommend it. It is maybe if you have a seat for all of your kids, maybe it's a better experience, Jacob. But it's always fun. I always have a good time there. They put on a good show. It's a really nice arena. Yeah, and watching live hockey, there's really not much like that. It's a lot of fun.
This was the turkey hat game, so they drop like 200 turkey hats. The hat's like shaped like the bottom half of a turkey that goes on your head. I don't know if you've seen those before, but they dropped turkey hats from the rafters after the first period. So
that's
we did
cool.
not get a turkey hat, but it was it's always cool to be when they do like those events like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Just a quick reminder, you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Talking Grit Pod. Just remember to like and subscribe. It gets our stuff out there. Got some comments last week on the 80s movies, Jacob. Mannequin was mentioned, a movie that have you ever seen Mannequin?
I've heard of Mannequin, but I thought that was like one that sucked. I thought that was a horrible movie.
No,
I've not seen it, but I've heard that it's bad.
Mannequin is like a movie that was on TV all the time when I was a kid. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it.
Have you rewatched? Is it bad because it's one that time did not hold up to?
It's just an 80s movie. I don't know. You see it and there's a lot of nostalgia involved in that movie. It's not bad. I would say it's bad, but for you it would be bad. For having no relation to the movie. Uh, so I think something I'm gonna do from now on, Jacob, is I've really kind of gotten into watching some more movies. I'm gonna drop movie quotes randomly in any episode. I want people to comment if they know what movie it's from. I'm not gonna tell you, but just I'm not gonna tell you what movie it's from or whatever. Just see if some of our listeners can catch on to the movie quotes because and you could do the same thing too, Jacob.
This is good, yeah. You haven't said something stupid in a really long time, so
I know I can't wait to say it, and I can't wait for you to be like, "Well, that was a weird saying right there." And be like, "Well, that was a movie quote." So, all right. So let's move on to some of the transactions. Get everybody caught up to where we're at right now. Jacob, you want to start here for us?
yes, transactions since the last time we talked before the Packers game. So we activated defensive end Marcus Davenport, who ended up playing in 24 snaps in this game. We also activated offensive lineman Miles Frazier from the reserve PUP list. He didn't play in this game, but his clock was up. We had to make the decision to activate him or not. We did activate him. On the other hand, we did not activate defensive end Josh Pascal. I don't remember if we talked about that in the last episode or not. But we did not activate him, so now he is out for the season. Let's see. Other players of note. So we signed tight end Anthony Ferkser and wide receiver Tom Kennedy to the active roster from the practice squad. Ferkser played 15 snaps on offense. He got 12 on special teams. Kennedy actually ended up being a great blessing after the Amon-Ra injury. So Kennedy ended up playing 41 snaps on offense and made some clutch catches, and he got 8 snaps on special teams. So good call to have Tom Kennedy there.
Yes, nice safety blanket to have in there.
Right.
I think Jared Goff felt pretty comfortable with them being in the spot. And you're right, he made the catches he needed to make, and especially after Amon-Ra went out, it was vital to have him on the field. The weird thing that we did this week was we waived Craig Reynolds. I did not expect or see that coming. And then Craig decided, I'm sure we would have put him back on the practice squad especially after they announced today that they signed Jabari Small. But Craig Reynolds kind of, read the writing on the wall, kind of sees like his playing time is going to be limited and signed with New England's practice squad. So he's just trying to get, a chance. And, New England is also, leading their division. They're actually in the the playoffs right now, so he might have an extended run with them. I don't blame Craig. I'm sad to see him go. Would rather he be at least on our practice squad, but his time right now with the Lions is over.
Yeah, that does suck. especially the timing of it and everything. But I don't know if that was a conversation that Craig had, if he told him up front, like, I'm not coming back, or if they were like, hey, if you clear waivers, we want you back in the practice squad, and Craig changed his mind. Who knows how that went behind closed doors, but Craig can be effective when he gets a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that he's going to be able to put up, Gibbs or Demo numbers, but he can be effective when he gets a shot. And I think,
Yeah.
his playing time is also running out. Time is running out for him to be effective and get playing time. So
Mm-hmm.
felt like he needed to take a chance now.
Yep. I don't blame him. I mean, I think Sailors might have passed him on the depth chart, it seems like. And Dave Montgomery and Gibbs are durable backs, so I think he was, he's hoping that he gets a shot at some point. We signed two players today. One player I just mentioned, Jabari Small, to the practice squad. We also signed another tight end, Giovanni Ricci. That is in response to it does not look good for Brock Wright. Based on what Dan Campbell said today, they're still waiting on some more imaging studies. It's something to do with his trachea. So he didn't exactly say what happened, but maybe it's I don't know if it's broke like Frank's was, a couple years, what is it, 5, 6 years ago that Frank played with a broken throat, unbelievably. And so I'm not sure. We released Trey Flowers from the practice squad to make room for those guys. Obviously, the Frank Ragnow, they had a transaction for him putting him on the commissioner's list, and then everyone knows that what happened, that he's not going to be on the team. We're going to save our thoughts, extended thoughts for at the end of this. So, but first, I want to kind of get into our quick recap of the Lions Packers game, what we thought, what happened, and all this stuff. So let's get started with that, Jacob. How you want to start this?
Let me just run down some of the top performers, just numbers wise and everything, and then we'll kind of
Okay.
go into where it all went wrong and
Sure.
just our quick thoughts. So,
Yep.
these are just some of the top performers that we have picked out. These are mostly the top rated people on Pro Football Focus as well. But wide receiver Jameson Williams got a 91.2 grade, 7 catches, 144 yards, and a touchdown. Definitely helped the offense move the ball when Amon-Ra went down. Showed that he can be an effective receiver when called upon. Quarterback Jared Goff got a grade of 81. He was 20 for 26, 256 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Um, I will say that a lot of those 20 completions came out very shaky. He was not, very tight spirals. He also was getting hammered by the Packers defense most of the game. So shouts out to Goff for, keeping his composure and being able to move the ball decently well. Offensive lineman Panay Sewell got a grade of 75. Safety Brian Branch got a grade of 83.6. He led the team with 8 tackles. He had 2 pass breakups. The only he looked like the fire was back in this one. The only knock on him was just against that touchdown. And honestly, I think just when he turned his head, the ball was already out of his eyesight where he just couldn't see that the ball was already coming. That's the only explanation for what happened there because he turned his head and didn't react to it. And that had to be because the ball was already just higher than what he was looking. But yeah, other than that, great game from Branch. Linebacker Derek Barnes got 3 pressures. He only had 1 tackle, graded out 73.8. And then defensive end Aiden Hutchinson got a grade of 69.9 on Pro Football Focus, which was not great, but he got 4 tackles and 3 pressures. So that's just a quick list of some of the guys who were top performers. But in the end, none of that mattered. We just were not able to get it done. Once again on Thanksgiving, once again to an NFC North opponent. Told you in the preview episode how much I hate that and how much worse it makes it. And they just keep doing it to us. So first question that we have, did this ruin your Thanksgiving? I mean, usually you're at home, you're nice, warm, you're eating dinner, you can walk away from the game a little bit if you have to or whatever it may be. As soon as it's over, you shut it off and stuff your face full of pumpkin pie. There was none of that this time. You were in the arena. You felt everybody deflate. You were deflated, I'm sure, defeated. The terrible feeling. But anyway, just did it completely ruin Thanksgiving for you? What were your thoughts there?
I did not ruin my Thanksgiving. Part of it was that I was at the game. It was like I was able to compartmentalize a little bit at the stadium and just kind of like, okay, it was a different feeling. I haven't been at the stadium in a long time since I was a kid. So it was I guess it was for me. It was a totally different feeling. So I didn't have like a normal Thanksgiving where I'm sitting with my family and we lose or whatever. I was at the stadium, so it was just I had to compartmentalize it. What I did ruin my Thanksgiving was I didn't want to watch football for the rest of the day. And usually Thanksgiving I want to watch football all day, and so I didn't watch anything the rest of the day. I just couldn't bring myself to watching any football the rest of the day, and even the next day I had to work during some of the Eagles Bears game, and I was loosely paying attention. But as soon as the Bears went up, I just like this week is just getting worse and worse. So that I would say ruined my Thanksgiving, but it ruined my football watching up until today.
Yeah, it was just the start of a very bad weekend.
Yes. Well, the week in
Any team that
general.
we needed to win did not win. Any game that we needed to come out in our favor,
Mhm.
with the exception of maybe the Panthers beating the Rams, but I don't know how much that matters in the grand scheme of things. But
Yeah. Yeah. How about you? Did it ruin your Thanksgiving? I mean, you get home from working, and so you probably see what at what point do you get home? Like what third quarter?
so typically, what happens when the game starts a little bit earlier, I'll get home, or usually they start dinner right at 2 o'clock, which is when we close. So I'm usually late to dinner. So I'll get
Okay.
in. Sometimes I'll grab some food, depending on where the game's at. Usually it's like halftime is over, or it's in the middle of halftime. This time I was able, like I said, I listened to the radio for the end of the first half, and then I was able to get there before the second half started. So
Okay.
I don't let it ruin my Thanksgiving anymore. I don't let it ruin my day anymore. Um, Obviously, as Lions fans, it's ruined a lot of Thanksgivings and it's ruined a lot of days. But you know, let down, disappointed, sure. I did not watch as much. I watched some of the Cowboys and Chiefs. I did watch some of the Bengals and Ravens as well. I didn't watch any of the Bears and Eagles because I did not. I was following updates, and then the Bears were ahead and playing from ahead. It's like just this could not be any worse. Then they
Hmm.
stop a tush push and get a fumble off of it, and then they've got a comfortable lead. I think that's when I texted you, or I tried to text you. I said, "This is a nightmare." I don't know if it
No, you
went
text
through.
me. I got the
Sometimes the
nightmare
text,
one. Yeah,
yeah,
it
sometimes
went
they don't
through.
go through. I have to
Yeah.
like click resend a couple times. But yeah,
Okay.
like this
It
is the worst.
I know. Well, I mean, you couple that with the Pistons losing a couple times this week. Red Wings lost the game the boys went to. You said the Bears win. It was bad. Outside of Michigan winning, and just winning, killing Gonzaga, it was a terrible, terrible week. And we'll talk about the Frank Ragnow stuff. That was unbelievable amount of hope before Thanksgiving Day game, only to be dashed uh, a day later.
Yeah,
So it
a
was
few
just
short
like
days later. Yeah.
it
Well, you
felt
didn't
like
mention Ohio State. For us as
yeah.
Michigan
I
fans,
There's a reason
that's
why I don't want to mention that. That
yeah.
sucked too. That was bad, and there was a controversial call like we'll talk about in this Lions game that should have went Michigan's way. I mean, it was pretty clear to me. I don't apparently we don't need to look at replay anymore. I don't understand what the deal is. Um, I'm going to ask you another simple question, Jacob. What did this game come down to you for you? Like, why did the Packers win? Why did the Lions lose? If you could put a like, what did it come down to?
I didn't like that we were playing from behind, and we talked about that in our keys to victory was don't do what we did, which is we go down, they score, we give them the ball right back, then they come down, they drive, and then quickly we're down 10-0. And I
Hmm.
want to say, uh, like Goff did not have a completion in the first quarter, right? I don't have that in front of me right now, but I believe that was the case. Is that he did not have a completion in the first quarter. Uh it was the worst start, and then it was like, okay, here we go. Like we got punched in the mouth. How are we going to respond? And then we did end up responding. Like it after the first quarter, I was really worried. I did not want this to be a blowout. Um,
Hmm.
It wasn't. We responded. We showed that we could hang with them. We did make some stops. We were driving the ball. I think, just in my opinion, what it comes down to is just the fourth downs, right? I mean, they kept going for it on fourth down. They kept scoring. We went for it on fourth down. It wasn't happening. JMO had a very, very costly drop, which sucks. Really sucks. Sucks for him. Sucks for the team. That you can't let that happen. It was a play that was there. Goff threw it a little bit behind him, but it's a catchable ball, especially for an NFL player. I mean, you got to know where you're at. You got to know the situation. He could have stopped running and kind of like fell and just got it and gotten the first down and been done with it. But James was moving so fast, it's behind him. That was a big one. But even that, like he dropped the ball, then we stop him. We stop him, we get the ball back, and we still can't get down there and get a touchdown. We got to settle for a field goal. And then we get down there, we're about to stop him again. It's 4th and 3, and they're like, you know what, we're going to go for it. And we're in a pretty good situation if we stop them right there. And then we just couldn't do it. Another big pass on 4th down.
Yeah, the Packers
to
did
Jordan Love off his back foot. Terrible. Like he's just lobbing it up in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Packers fans will tell you that's skill. They will tell you that that's a skill.
Of course they will.
So I will tell you that you're exactly right. It comes down to the 4th down play. They were 3 for 3. We were 0 for 2. They scored 2 touchdowns on 4th down plays, correct? I am almost positive of that. And then the last 4th down was the ice the game, right? We went 0 for 2, and one of those was the JMO drop, right? So to me, if we stop honestly, any one of those 4th downs, but especially the ones that they scored touchdowns and the JMO one's complete, like if that's a good pass, that's a touchdown. He's walking into the end zone. At the very least, at that, he should have caught, like as bad as that pass was, a little bit behind him, he should have at least got the first down. But if he throws them, if Jared Goff leads JMO, he probably walks into the end zone after he catches that. And that's a 14-point swing. I mean, we win the game at that point. We win 31 and they have 24 instead of losing 31-24. To me, that's as simple as it comes down to. The fact that we're giving up huge plays on these 4th downs, explosives for touchdowns, I think we'll save the referee calls for a little bit later, but one of those touchdowns, could have been called in the Lions' favor, and the Lions would have had the ball in that case, which would have been a totally switch. I was shocked that LaFleur went for it on that 4th down to end the game. I was totally convinced that there was no way they were hiking that ball. I thought they were either trying to get us to draw off us offsides and then they were going to punt it. Because like you said, if they don't get that, we are like midfield only needing a touchdown and we could do that. So I was shocked by that, but it's almost exactly what happened last year on Thursday, where we just, we went for it on 4th down to, a little different situation. I think the game was tied at that point, and we needed to get the first down to basically kick the game-winning field goal, if I remember that right. That was like the Thursday after Thanksgiving. I know that Dan Campbell went for it on 4th down. Jared Goff trips, hands it to Demo, get the first down. It's almost like LaFleur did exactly what he wanted, uh, like what he just played Dan Campbell's game, and usually he's not that aggressive in these situations, going for it on 4th down so much, and so maybe he learned that he needs to do that. So you're 100% right. It comes down to us not stopping them on 4th down, and us if we complete one and we stop them on one, I think the outcome of the game is different.
Right. What did you think of the play call for? Well, 2 of them, but for us, the one where
we ran it
we're
twice.
Almost at midfield, right? Well, so we ran it that whole drive. Like Gibbs ran the ball 2 rushes for Gibbs, then Goff completes it to Tom Kennedy for a first down, and then 4 straight rushes for Gibbs. And we had just ran it negative yards. And then on 4th and 3, we try to go up the middle again. And that was at the 47-yard line.
I could tell you that the crowd's frustrated. I was actually frustrated with the double run because I could just see that it's not you were not surprising the Packers in that situation. They could see that coming. And I think I don't know if we want to talk about it right now, but when you come down to it, like this season is, our record is not what I expected to be 7-5 at this point. And it's really honestly come down to like a very few amount of plays. Like if we convert some of these 4th downs, like I really feel that Amenar catches that pass before halftime at the Chiefs and we go down and score like before half and instead of them scoring, that 4th down drop was a crucial play that flipped that game. Like same thing in this one. Like if JMO doesn't drop that ball and we score a touchdown, that flips it. Like there's like so many of these games are so tight, and I think that um, we've been able to take advantage of teams, converting on fourth down. I think teams are ready now and they're prepared to go for it on fourth down because they know that we're going to. The whole mindset, it's not even just against the Lions. It's just the NFL in general has totally switched their mind. They're more open to go for it on fourth down. Teams are more prepared for that. We're not surprising teams. And the problem is that we're not executing on these fourth down plays. Whether it's a bad call, like I really believe that Dan Campbell run was a bad call, or guys just dropping the ball, flat out dropping the ball, or Jared Goff, not getting it to him. But more times than not, I will say that Jared Goff is making the right call, and these receivers are not catching the ball. Are they perfect? No, but they are catchable balls that that we expect Amon Ra, all pro Amon Ra to catch, or JMO if we want. We talked about how exciting he is, but that was a huge drop. He had a great game other than that drop.
Yeah, agreed. That also,
Um,
I want to talk about that one just because the back to back runs, and then right after that, the big momentum swing because that was 17-14. Right after that's when they hit that 51-yard touchdown,
mhm.
and then that's early on in the second half, sucks the wind out of everybody again because it's 24-14, which we responded, but just the other one, the 4th and 3 that we talked about to ice the game. I mean, that one we actually did bring pressure, right? We brought pressure. Pressure got in his face, and he kind of just lobbed it up where that receiver was going to go. And Branch, who had a great pass breakup right before that, Branch had one where he knocked it out of Christian Watson's hands. This one, he was not able to knock it out of Dontavian Wicks, and that was what iced the game.
Mhm.
But were you surprised? Like, I know you said that necessarily that they were going for it, but that the play call was to let's have him drop back on 4th and 3 and chuck it up.
Yeah, I knew that they would pass if they were going to put him out there. I mean, that was a desperation thing. I mean, he was getting pressure and he threw it up, and honestly, there was pretty good coverage in that. It was just he put it in the right spot. Jordan Love had, as much as I give crap to Jordan Love, he put the ball where it needed to be put in a lot of these catches. Like very good placement on the ball. I thought Jordan Love played really good. Before we move on here, or before we move to the next question, we have one of our chat asked a good question. I kind of wonder what you're feeling on it. I'll put it right up here. So, M. Newmeyer, 5813 says, very frustrating game to watch. How much do you think having Amon Ra go down affected it? So, in your opinion, Jacob, what do you think? Do you think that had a huge effect on the game, minor effect? What's your feeling?
You know, I th- I think on paper, when you think about it, it would have a much greater effect than it did. But it didn't really end up affecting the game at all. I mean, the offense still moved the ball. We still went on touchdown drives. We still, had all the chances right there. JMO had a good game. They used Tesla, Tom Kennedy. Obviously, it would have been great to have Amon Ra out there, but we weren't moving the ball when we had him out there either way. And I don't know if it was Jeremy Reisman or somebody had put a post out there like maybe not having Amon Ra out there made Jared Goff, go to his reads, go through his progressions a little bit quicker than just throwing it up where Amon Ra would be, which is
Mhm.
usually a good call. I mean, Amon Ra comes down with most of them, but we were able to move the ball.
Yep. I was shocked how well we were able after he went down. I was shocked how well we were able to move the ball because I was like, "Oh my god, now we're going to be in trouble." But we mentioned earlier, Tom Kennedy came up huge with some big catches, and JMO. We finally gave the ball to JMO. I will say that Jared Goff, I know he was getting sacked and getting some pressure, but there seemed to be some time where he had like longer to throw the ball and he was waiting it out, either moving through the pocket or moving through. And then I know JMO hit on a couple of those crossers that went across, got some huge yards. He was 7 receptions for 144 yards, had TD. Other than that drop, he was just so good and such a weapon. So I really honestly, it's hard to say for sure, but I mean, ultimately, like I said, think it came down to those fourth down calls and our defense giving up huge plays on fourth down. I think that that's ultimately what it came down to. Um, and Packers will say that Love made the throws when he needed to make it, and I can sort of agree with him on that. But I also think that it seems like the second week in a row we're giving up huge explosives on critical downs and. Well, I have some questions about Shep and stuff for you in a little bit, so we'll get to. I don't want to do that right now, but I want to ask you about the refs call in this game. The false start was, if it wasn't so, if it wasn't against the Lions, it was hilariously bad. I mean, if I just saw this against another team, I'd have been like, these stupid Packers, they get, they get all these calls. But we were screaming around us, going, what are they possibly huddling for? It was the clearest false start I've ever
Right.
seen in my life.
Yes. That actually was one that I got to listen to on the radio. So I didn't get to see it live, like right when it happened. I had to, look up later to see. But, you know, terrible to be given the timeout that late anyway. But then for them to be like, oh no, they heard, they asked him after in the pool report. It's like, no, he heard like timeout, and he was just, however they worded it is that we heard like the vocal timeout before the signal came. No, you didn't. There's no way you heard that in that field. And then, Packers fans are like, well, his, his play calling sheet is kind of like covering his mouth. Would it be covering your mouth if you're yelling timeout down the field of the ref? No.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not trying to hide that you're yelling timeout. No, you hadn't done it yet.
No.
You were walking down there, like thinking about as time goes down. I don't think they were going to run a play, right? I think they were going to talk about it, or they were going to see if we would jump or whatever they would do. Because he was not in a hustle to get down there until that false start happened. That's when he took like an extra 2 or 3 steps and is yelling timeout and trying to.
Yeah.
And it makes it 10 times worse when they ask him about it in that conference and his dumbass wink and everything. Like, of course you got away with one. Everybody knows you got away with one.
Mm-hmm. And I cannot, like, I've seen that on delay of games before where it's been close like that, and they will give that.
Well, they had a couple of those too.
Right. In fact, if I were making if I were doing rule changes, I would say for delay of game, you always get the option just to like throw this, like, did he say it at time or whatever? I would just say you could always, for any delay of game, you give the coach an option to use a timeout instead of, instead of doing that. But then I'd also call delay a game really tight. Like as soon as they hit 0, I would do that. So I would have some rule changes. But this false start, this is like, I never see this. I never seen that. I've never seen someone false start and then them call a timeout, say they called a timeout beforehand. That's impossible. And that was a 4-point play. That was a 4-point play because they would have definitely kicked a field goal after that, and said they get the touchdown. It was really maddening, and I was so upset that that happened. And I think that touchdown the touchdown catch was before that, right? Like the controversial touchdown catch
The controversial one was before that.
Yeah. So like, but in the stadium they didn't show as many reviews. But I don't know if it was at what point I looked at my phone and I could see, Twitter was going, yeah, he's bobbled that ball. Because in the stadium, I was like, oh, he caught the ball with, when he first touches the ball, the first foot's down. Because the replay they show in the stadium is like the back half where he cut the second foot's down and the third foot goes out of bounds.
Right.
But at no point were we looking at the catch, like, was he bobbling the ball? But you saw that. That could have went the Lions' way too, and it didn't. So that was incredibly.
The thing about the false start timeout thing too, though, is like the too many players on the field. Like that we had that penalty. They get a little bit closer. Then we still stop him. He scrambles. We still end up stopping him. And then, for that to happen, just keep kicking us when we're down.
Yep.
Terrible. Like, so you've had time to look at it now, though.
Man.
Right. So the touchdown pass to Wicks, the one that was like, really controversial. After you like got home and got to see the replays and everything, did you think that was the right call, that it was a touchdown?
It's so close. Like, I don't know. If it's a Lions player, I would say it's a catch. If it's a Packers, it's not a catch. I'm not ultimately mad at it, but the false start one really, really makes me upset because it's so obviously wrong. And
right.
And
that one, we absolutely just got screwed. They made the wrong call. It was terrible. But the one, honestly, like the one that I saw, the deep touchdown too, when I saw it, I thought, okay, yeah, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
They called touchdown on the field, and I was like, there is no chance that little bobble right there that they're going to say was not it.
The thing that's frustrating about it is the pool report afterwards, right? When they ask them, like you said, when they ask them about the false start.
Why say anything at all?
Yeah.
Why say what they said?
Yeah, what they said was, they said the receiver's hands in this game are so good. Like, what? Like that? that has nothing to do with that. Like, okay, then everything's a catch. Everything's a catch because these receivers' hands are so good. Like, I don't understand what he was saying. And I imagine that in the Ohio State Michigan game, they could have said the same thing when the guy's bobbling it and when what's his face is
Jeremiah Smith
bobbling it.
bobbling
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
the as he's trying to get through the end zone, he loses
Yeah,
control.
he bobbles it, steps out of bound, but doesn't have control. That was a fumble, should have been there. And that's, exactly what I imagine them saying was, oh, the receiver's hands are so good that, he had control of that. No. It was incredibly frustrating and like why even have a pool report afterwards if you're gonna say stupid stuff like that? Like
Right.
it was very
I just can't
condescending,
believe I've
just stupid.
never seen that. Never.
Yeah.
That's like saying, "Oh, was this pass interference?" Well, these quarterbacks are just Aaron Rodgers' pinpoint accuracy. That's where he was
Yeah.
trying to go, and it was definitely PI. Like what?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why say that? That makes no
Yeah.
sense. That
It
means
was
nothing.
yep. It was 100%
I think
dumb.
what he was getting at is the receiver had complete control when he switched to the other hand, and he's just so good that he was able to switch and maintain control,
100%.
which is not how
Yeah.
you should have worded that.
Nope. Nope. Not at all. All right. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions here. Um, what do you think is going on with our defense, giving up these explosives? Is this Shep to blame? Is it the players? Is it scheme? I mean, where do you feel like this issue that seems like it's recently come up? Where do you lay the blame at?
I feel like some of it is the play calling in the sense that, it's hard to say because it's the play calling when we don't get pressure, but when the pressure finds home, then it's not necessarily the play calling, it's the execution. So I guess while I'm saying that, maybe just in all fairness, it's just the players not executing, right?
Okay.
Like if it's designed that we're only going to be rushing three, then you're counting on somebody getting home or at least making enough pressure, making them get rid of the ball quick enough to give our defensive backs time to get in position and hold position long enough. It's not happening. When they rush three people and the quarterback's got 5 seconds to throw, it's impossible to hold an NFL receiver in man coverage that long. When a
Hmm.
play breaks down or, when they shift one way or another, if your back's the quarterback too, it's impossible to hold somebody that long. So I hate when we rush three. But then there were times like this one that we said the fourth down where we brought the pressure. We brought the pressure. Love had to from his back foot throw it up. Brian Branch was right there. He just didn't get it. So in that
Hmm.
sense, that was, kind of just a good play by the other team. I can't put my finger on exactly what's going on, but I do think it's an execution thing.
I think it's more. I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna say that most of it's scheme, and I think a couple with the fact that we haven't got any turnovers, we're giving this quarterback too much time. We need to switch things up. We need to create pressure, however that is. I don't care. That's sending extra people. And, we're already giving up explosives. In my mind, we're already giving up explosives by not getting home, right? So, if you're worried that you're going to give up explosives because you're sending too much and you have no one in the secondary, I'd rather give it up that way where you have the chance of creating a turnover situation where quarterbacks getting rid of it. Most quarterbacks are kind of like Jared Goff in the sense that if you rattle them early, then it affects them later in the game and they think the pressure is there when it's not. And I think that these quarterbacks, especially the last 2 weeks, have gotten so comfortable back there throwing so long that they feel like they could wait it up and throw it out. We're not getting sacks. And I know everyone wants to blame, Aiden Hutchinson needs to do more. They're sending so much attention over there. It is on someone else to get pressure. And a lot of times that off end, we're putting a big guy down there, not getting pressure on the other end because that's a design thing. That's a scheme thing. We want to lock down that edge, right? And then like stop the quarterback from running out. We've been very good at like keeping the quarterback in the pocket. But now we're seeing the other end of it. Like if we do that and we don't overrush, then they kill us through the air. So you have to pick your poison at some point. The last 2 weeks we've absolutely gotten destroyed like through the air on critical downs. And so to me, I'd rather, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, like just get some pressure in there, blitz them. You don't have to do it every down, but just enough that you could fake it and they got to honor it. And then maybe, instead of holding on to it, they feel the pressure before it's actually there, and they start dumping it off earlier. We're a very good tackling team. We will get guys if they can pass it ahead. The problem is that I think Amik has not played that great lately. To be honest with you, he's getting burned in the and but part of it is that you have to hold coverage, so it's not all his fault, but he's not making plays in the back end. None of our corners are making interceptions. We're not getting turnovers, but that's mostly because they have to hold these quarterbacks for or these receivers for like 4 seconds plus, and that's just not a good way of doing it. So to me, I'd rather mix it up, you know, send, do a cover zero sometimes and just send everyone like Minnesota does. You're already getting burned on these plays. You've shown it the last 2 weeks. At this point in the season, we are, do or die, and we have to take some chances to be able to get in this. So that's where I live on it. The way that we've done, we were doing well earlier, and I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if teams have caught up with us. See what Shep's doing. Maybe Shep needs to change things up. They've got a better read on us, but we are not getting pressure in an adequate amount of time. And I'm not saying that every play needs to be like that, but we have to rattle the quarterback for them to make a mistake.
It's the difference between having Micah and Rashawn Gary, or just having like another effective edge rusher too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
that's what people were hammering about before the season. The thing is, we are putting the big guys on the outside, which I don't like. And I've said before, I don't understand why we're doing that. But, and as you said, like to hold the edge and everything, which is fine sometimes. But when we do like for that change of pace, a lot of what we do is we put Derek Barnes on the outside and have him like rush in or sometimes drop back. Derek Barnes, he had 3 pressures this game, but generally he's not getting home. And these pressures in this game, I think, were probably just because of these long developing plays. Versus you flip over this sideline and you see Micah Parsons getting in within a second, or he's crashing up the middle of the line. They're just doing more with it. They have more effective edge rushers. They have more effective people on defensive line. And that when you have a strong defensive line, it makes the rest of the defense much better.
I also agree that I think that when we talk about scheme or whatever, it's also like you said, we're putting those bigger guys on the edge, and we have a guy Muhammad that's shown that he can rush the passer. And earlier in the year, when we had to put him on the edge because we were limited in options, we were getting more sacks and we were getting more pressure. So I think some of that is like the Lions are just going to have to realize that we can't live like this. There's got to be some change. We got to change it up a little bit. And the fact is, you could say, hey, we got to stop the run. We haven't been all that effective at stopping the run either. We're middle of the pack and stopping the run. So, you can't live by that and then say, well, we're stopping the run, we're being effective. Because the thing that's frustrating when you look at all these games that we've lost statistically, we all like even in this game, Goff and Love have very similar statistics. They are making explosive plays when it counts. The Lions are not doing it as much. And also on the offensive end, we're not able to just control that line of scrimmage. Our offensive line is been disappointing, and we could have easily ran it on 3rd and 3 and 4th and 3 last year, and I felt really comfortable with that. This year, I don't. We're not getting the push that we need. So that's a totally different change, that we're not controlling that line of scrimmage. And so those are the biggest differences for me. And I don't, even though I am blaming Shep and the scheme and whoever's making those calls, whether Dan Campbell or whatever like that, I don't think it's a permanent thing. I think these are smart guys that will fix this. But as of right now, that's what I see as the issue right now. And we're not putting our players in the best place to succeed, especially in the back end.
True. Are you mad, or how do you feel now about Brad Holmes revisiting? Obviously, Brad Holmes done a great job. He's got a lot of good players, but revisiting the big ones, the Manu trade, now the Tesla trade, where we gave up a lot of draft picks to move up for these guys. That Tesla caught a touchdown in this one, but it's been 100% clear. Like Tesla, this is like a red shirt year for him. Basically, it's just not going to happen. It's not. He's not picking it up quick enough for whatever reason. Manu, with the injury and everything, just doesn't look like that's happening either. It's a lot of draft picks in the middle of the round that we usually can hit on. That's a lot of effective players that we could be having on this team, especially on the line, both ways. So I mean, what are your thoughts there? Not really like fire Brad Holmes or anything like that.
No,
Obviously, no. But I mean, do
no.
you still stand by those like as good trades? Good, are you
I
okay with
don't.
us rolling the dice and not winning?
I think he needs to reevaluate the philosophy of that. Like, if we had players that we could plug in earlier, and those that we could have, because you could draft a third rounder, like, and they could come in and play. I mean, you could draft, like, instead of doing the Manu thing. The Tesla thing is still up for debate for me. Like, I like him, so I'm not. It's very early on, so I don't want to say anything like that. The Manu thing is not trending in the right direction. Um, it's not final, but it's not trending in the right direction. But I think in general, like you see the Vaki thing, you see the Manu thing. I don't know if Brad Holmes thought he's thinking 3 years ahead and like I'm going to draft guys now that we're going to, that have very high ceilings, you know, but they are very raw and we need to develop these guys. And I am very confident in my coaches that we could develop these guys. Pretty soon we're not going to be in that position. We're going to need some people to be able to play earlier on. And you see, I'm like, he still has it. And I think he just needs to reevaluate his priorities a little bit about, when he drafts these guys or what type of guys that he really covets in those middle rounds, because I think he's really kind of missed. Now, I will say that Tyleek has played. With I'm okay with Tyleek's play this year. And frankly, we're going to need him next year. And I think that draft pick is going to really shine when DJ Reader's probably no longer on this team. And Tate Ratledge, you got to be happy with Ratledge too. I think he's came right in. I mean, is he superstar level? No, but for end of the second round, offensive lineman to come in and start, I think he's played adequately on that line, and I'm hoping that he gets better next year. So I'm okay with all that. It's just giving up 3 picks for Tesla. Those are 3 players that we could have on the roster. Those are future draft picks. Yeah, I think that does frustrate me, but I'm not writing off Tesla yet. And if you look at Amon Ra's first year, he didn't show up really until the second half of the year. So, I know that we're right there right now with Tesla, and I'm not expecting him to have Amon Ra numbers, because I don't really see him being an All Pro. But I would like, we need to see him more. And with Amon Ra being out probably for the next 1 to 2 weeks, we probably going to get more He's going to get more opportunities, and he's going to need to shine right now.
Absolutely. Well said. I
Are
don't think we
you
traded up for Amon Ra, but I mean that's no, I mean it is
right?
irritating, but like it's one of those things. Hindsight's 2020. You make a
Hmm.
gamble, they don't always turn out like that. And
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, if you go through the draft picks, Tyleek, being drafted as a defensive tackle at the end of the first round is performing about as well, especially when you look at like snaps and stuff. I think he's performing just about as well as you could expect.
Hmm.
Somebody being drafted in that position is going to do. Tate Ratledge, I would say, is probably overperforming where you would go if you were drafted in that spot. It's
Hmm.
more so just about what we gave up for Tesla and what we
Yep.
gave up for Manu and where that leaves us with these holes that, we had to battle through last year and now kind of what we're looking at this year. Feeling helpless on the offensive line and the defensive line, things aren't working. There's not much to switch up, right? So, it's frustrating, but you don't always hit. You win some, you lose some. You kind of just have to go with it. It just
Yeah.
I understand people being frustrated with Brad Holmes. I don't understand people saying fire Brad Holmes. I had somebody say if we end up missing the playoffs, we should start having a talk about possibly moving on from Dan Campbell. It's like
Yeah.
that. When did you become a Lions fan?
Yeah.
There's no way that
No.
you were here. There's no
Well,
chance that you've been a long time if you're already talking about getting rid of him.
see, this is what I said. This season has come down to so many few plays that if those plays happen, our record's totally different. The conversation is totally different. And who's to say that those plays don't switch next year? And I think that they totally, could, and they'll go in the Lions' favor. You'll get the call when you need to get the call. We have been, I think, more than the last couple of years, been on the wrong end of a lot of these referee calls. Some weird stuff. So I in no way would I write off Dan Campbell. Would I write off Brad Holmes? I think what you're seeing now and what I expected to see, especially if we didn't make the playoffs, or the people, they're gonna say, "Oh, I saw this coming a while ago," or you're gonna start questioning everything Brad Holmes, and then the people that you know that were that are easily swayed will see these stupid statistics that are put out or whatever, or cherry pick these things and say, well, the Terrion pick or whatever. Terrion's played well. I mean, he's played better since he's come back. He's actually like, I'm okay with it. Now, Quinion Mitchell, you're always going to be compared to him, but I think Terrion's played well. He, I'm okay with that. The Ennis Rakestraw thing, he's been out. So, like, there's some knocks on the injuries and stuff like that. But when you start comparing him to what everybody else has drafted, every GM misses. They do. And if you expect perfection, every hire that the Lions have from here on out is going to be a disappointment for you because there's going to be some misses. There's going to be some evaluations. But to take this team from where they were 4 years ago to where they are now, I get it. You're disappointed with the way the season goes, way the season has happened. I am too. I am really disappointed, but I don't go into a blame space. I tend to like look at positive what we can move on for. This is not, the players still want to play here. This player, we're going to still be able to get people. If anything, it's going to be eye opening for the team. And we will, if things don't work out the way that we want them to this year, they will come back strong. This is not the end of the road. Like I don't have that feeling at all. If anything, it just lets you know how hard it is to stay up at the top.
Right. And we're not the only. I mean, this year has really been any given Sunday, right? Teams are battling each other, they're beating each other. There's not two or three teams where you're like, oh, it's going to be one of these couple guys. It really feels like a year where anybody that's going to make it to the playoffs has a shot.
Yes.
And here we are, 7-5, not quite as well as we are, but 12-5 is still on the table. I mean, that's realistic that we could still do that. And you flip, like, the only team that comes to mind right now is the Commanders, just because of how they're doing, and they're on TV right now playing the Broncos. But you think about how the Commanders fans feel and how that team feels to pick up the pieces that they picked up and put all the money and everything that they put into, expecting that they were going to take a leap from last year and that they're going to be performing well. And now they're all the way at the bottom, right? I mean, they're about eliminated already. So it could be much worse than it is right now. We are still a good team, just don't look like a great or elite team this year. All it takes is a chance, though. All it takes is for us to be in the playoffs, and that's still within reach, and we still could make damage when we're there.
Right, exactly. I haven't written off this season yet. Has it gone the way I wanted it to? No. But if we go 4-1, we ended the season 4-1, we make it in the playoffs. I'm feeling pretty good, right? But we've been on this streak of win one, lose one, win one, lose one. We obviously can't continue that. So we have I don't have the same confidence going in week and week out that I had earlier in the year, where we are going to right the ship. And my confidence is wavering, but my fandom is not. I love this team. I still think that we could win every game. I know we have the talent to win every game. It's whether we're going to go out and execute and have a good game plan going out. But this does not affect how I see next year. It really doesn't. I really expect us to come in, and even though the media might write us off, I don't really. I think that if anything, we're going to come back hungrier next year. So I'm okay with that. Um, we got the Cowboys coming up. They've been on a streak lately. When you talk about people like thoughts changing real fast. The Eagles, right? Excuse me, hold on. Well, excuse me. The Eagles, they beat us, right? They're on the top of the world, and now they've went and lost 2 games, and the Cowboys, have beat the Eagles and the Chiefs, and all of a sudden, you know, they're the next coming in the NFC. Things could change real fast, and we thought the Bears were going to lose, and if they would have lost on Friday, everyone would have been like, "Oh, the Bears, who we thought they were." That then that just didn't happen. It's really weird, but the Bears they play the Packers twice coming up. They got to end the season with us. Their fortunes could go down really quick, and they're our best chance, in my opinion, for us to be able to jump them for playoff spot.
Yeah, I still have no faith in the Bears.
Yep.
I mean, shouts out to them that they've made it this far. Now they're going to be the 1 seed entering Week 14. But
yeah,
I The
And
Eagles
I
had
think a lot
the
of Lions fans' anxiety comes from that too. That we lost Ben Johnson to the Bears, and all of a sudden they're the number one seed. It's like, was Ben Johnson really the mastermind on all that? He's whatever reason he's got them to win down there so far, but at no reason does I think that us losing him have you know is emptied us out. I know the Morton thing maybe not has worked out, but our offense this year it's been us not getting on the same page altogether. Like either our offense is on point, like we're offense was good enough in the Packers game to win. The defense dropped the ball, in my opinion, on those fourth downs. Like it just hasn't lined up. And I wouldn't put it all on Ben Johnson. I wouldn't put it all on losing AG. It's just that things just have not worked out our way.
yeah. I still don't think that the coordinators had anything to do with it.
Yep. Uh, so Lions chances right now are 30 to 40%, depending on what metric you look at for us to make the playoffs. It's still in our control. I think if we go undefeated, we're definitely in. If we go 4-1, I think our percentages are like in the 90 percentage. As long as we beat the Bears, as part of that 4-1. Going 3-2, there's still a decent chance of us making the playoffs. So, but we're gonna need some. We would need some help from some other teams. So the season's not over. We still can get in, and I still feel like if we get in the dance, we could, you know, we could win. I think we have the players to do that, and the, we
I don't
play
think
really
anybody
well in
wants to
prime
see
time.
us when we make the playoffs. I don't think anybody wants to see us. Like whoever,
No,
whatever the seating works out, they're going to be kind of irritated that they got the draw of us.
yes, I agree. The only thing is that, like, getting in a wild card, we won't have Ford Field. Most likely, won't have any Ford Field advantage. But I think that, the Lions have shown they've been able to go on the road and win, and they like playing in that environment. So I'm not overly worried about that. Just personally, I'd like to go to a playoff game. So, I'll be disappointed about that, but it'll be all right. Save me a little bit of money, I guess. Uh, I personally think the NFC North is like going to be really hard to get to. It's going to take everything to go right. Us losing twice to the Packers really kind of ruined those chances in my opinion. But I just want to get in the dance. What about you? Do you think NFC North is out of the question?
I still don't think it's out of the question. Obviously, it's a long shot. I think the odds are whatever, like 8 to 10% or whatever. Like the Packers, they play the Bears twice. They play the Broncos, Ravens, Vikings. I mean, up until I'll say the week before, the Packers versus the Vikings, the Packers handled them pretty easily. But up until that point, the Packers were struggling with everybody, right?
Hmm.
Like the Bengals and Cardinals, and every game that you saw them play, they lost the Panthers, you know. But they finally came out against us with a little bit of extra fire and moved the ball. Now are they going to do the same thing against the Bears? I mean, it's hard for me is that we're gonna have to root for one or the other. Like it'd
I
be
know.
great if they tied this week, but like do we need them to split
Yeah,
the series? It's gonna depend on how the other games go.
yeah,
Obviously, we hold the tiebreaker over the Bears, so it'd be better for us if the Bears were to knock the Packers down. But there's a lot of things that have to go our way for the NFC North.
hmm,
But if we just win our games, the wild card is right there. The
yep,
problem, one of my concern is that if we drop, especially if we drop this game to Dallas, I don't want to have to be paying attention to every single game that we need. And then,
I know.
my heart's beating out of my chest for the freaking Seahawks to lose, or
Yep.
I hate when it comes down to that. I hate when it's no longer in your control.
Yes. Oh, it's terrible. And we've saw what happens when it's not in our control. Everything outside of that Rams game today is pretty much went the
Right.
opposite of what we needed it to do. So maybe our fortune will change, but this weekend that's another kick in the pants, like just how bad it was. So all right, and we've hit about an hour right now. I want to talk on Frank Ragnow really quick. Everyone knows he was reinstated like the last day possible, which is Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Our still hopes were high at that point, but that we were going to beat the Packers. Frank's going to be around the corner. We are, back in our Super Bowl window. Then we lose to the Packers, and then a couple days later, uh, it's Frank has a grade 3, which basically is a torn hamstring, and he can't come back this year. So you're wondering, how can Frank not know he has a grade 3 torn hamstring? So I guess I'm going to start there, Jacob. What do you think happened there? Like, how does he not know that he has a grade 3?
You already mentioned earlier how did he play with a broken trachea?
Yeah, yeah,
I think the pain tolerance for this dude is just so insanely off the chart that I saw a report, or not a report, but somebody had said online, like he announced he was going to come back. He decided to hit some sprints the next day, and then his hamstring said bye. Uh,
yeah.
who knows what happened, but he was probably like, yeah, it's bothering me. They said he disclosed it. He said, I got a hamstring thing going on, bothering me a little bit. I want to say that he was like, nothing, I can't play through or whatever he had said. And then they're like, no, this thing is torn, man. Like,
Hmm.
uh, just wild timeline to be
Yeah,
so happy. Like on Wednesday, obviously it was like, no, he can't suit up on Thanksgiving, but you know what? That'd be cool if he could. Uh, Wednesday, they reinstate him right before the deadline, which nobody even reported about the deadline or about the possibility because this was not on anybody's radar. I know
exactly.
Dan Campbell said afterward that they had been talking to him for like a few weeks, I guess. But that was not disclosed. There was nothing coming out. And I was like, thank God Frank is back. Immediate boost to the line, immediate boost to the offense. Instantly
Hmm.
can slide Graham back over, and Awashika doesn't have to start. Uh, when Graham is healthy, you're thinking of the possibilities like, oh my God, we're going to be running the ball a little bit more effectively. Like things, this could be what our offense needs. Then the Packers game happens. You're like, man, I'm just about as low as I possibly could get right now. And then they're like, actually, Frank is not going to play. His hamstring is torn. Could take months to heal. Uh, and then to make it worse is that they're like, well, and Dan Campbell said we never discussed the possibility of next year.
Yeah.
So they had only talked about like, coming back for the run this year. Like he was going to
Hmm.
give it one more run. So all around terrible situation.
Yeah.
I wish they would have done this physical and stuff in private so that they didn't even announce this to us and give us this hope.
Yeah, I know. So I think it was so last minute and they had to activate it. Like Frank decided. My feeling is that it came last minute, uh, and some people are like blaming the Lions, like this is a terrible look. I mean, I think that Frank probably, like you said, disclosed that, hey, my hamstring's not 100%. It may take me a couple weeks to get back or whatever. I think Frank's probably been training and and maybe he started to ramp things up a couple weeks ago just to kind of be ready for this moment and probably tore it somewhere along the way. Probably, did something, probably tried to go back to his old weights and just wasn't ready for it. Something happened. And yeah, he just like kind of knew like, oh, it's just a little bit sore. I'll be able to play through it. And then yeah, like his pain tolerance is like through the roof that, no, you dude, you're walking around on a torn hamstring. You need to rest it all. So yeah, that I was crushed when that came through and it was just like, oh my God, like things are good. And we're gonna get Frank back. We're gonna be able to run. He's gonna shore up so many holes in this offensive line. And maybe he's not Frank at 2 weeks in, but by the end of the season, where we really need him in the playoffs, we're going to be getting 80% of Frank back, and 80% of Frank is way better than 80% of Graham or whatever we have right now because he's injured all the time. So yeah, it was heartbreaking, and it was just another terrible, terrible week news in this week of sports. But let me ask you this: I know that you just mentioned that Dan Campbell said they hadn't discussed 2026. I mean, this obviously puts the thought in your head that 2026 is an option. Before Wednesday, when this was announced, I would, I Frank was retired. He's not in my head. I didn't think there was going to be any possibility of him coming back. Do you feel like, hey, 2026 is on the table for Frank now?
I would think now, since this little thing, it's on the table. It's
Yeah.
on the table until it's not. I mean, he's still only 29 years old. He was playing at a very high level,
Hmm.
last year before. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's still on the table. Maybe that's just me hoping that it's still on the table because that would
No,
solve a lot of issues. But
I feel like if he's willing to come back now, like to me that tells me that the fire's still there and he wants to play. Um,
right,
Maybe if Taylor retires, that's probably his best bud. It seems like they are. That maybe that changes things a little bit. That he doesn't want to do it because I'm not saying Taylor's going to retire, but definitely seems like it's more of a possibility that he could.
Well,
then maybe
Taylor's
Frank.
constantly battling shoulder injuries, so
Right. And maybe Taylor, he just had off-season surgery, so maybe he'll be able to have time to heal up in the off-season. He'll feel better coming in, and maybe with Frank, they're gonna say, Frank sees how much we need him. I mean, I know that he's, talks to Decker, he talks to those guys, and maybe he just said, the fire's there. I need to come back. So yes, a lot of it's hope probably on my end that yes, it means that he could come back. But to me, if like you're willing to come back now to do that training, then I think in that next year is definitely on the table. Um, Hopefully this injury doesn't set him, you know, so far back that it either kills that desire or, the injury lingers until next year. But he's still had plenty of time for the offseason for that to heal. I mean, this could take months to heal, but hopefully, by the time training camp rolls around, if he decides he wants to come back, then we could get him on the scene. Because you're right, that would solve like some major issues.
right, man. It was too good to be true.
All right, you get Mahogany back, then all of a sudden you got Frank Mahogany, you got Ratledge, a non-rookie Ratledge, you got Panay, and then hopefully Decker on the other side. I mean, we're back in business, and
It's a pretty good
uh,
line.
right,
Still got
we're
Gibbs and Demo.
yeah, you're still, yeah, you're able to get back and have that engine. You have not heard Dan Campbell says it's the engine that runs our team. Like that was constantly said this past, previous years. Like that is the engine that makes our team run. You don't hear it that much. I mean, I heard, you saw it what happens in the Ravens game when we could fire off the ball, create these holes. We were dominating the running game in that one. We've had other dominating running game performances by Gibbs, but I almost put that on Gibbs more than Gibbs and then the receivers holding blocks in the secondary because
Right,
Gibbs
right,
fired at that hole. I mean, I'm not saying that the offensive line didn't do blocks; they did their job, but a lot of that I put more on Gibbs. When Monty starts running like crazy, then I really feel like the offensive line is really able to do his job. Monty can fit through holes when they're created, and he could his vision I think is a little bit better than Gibbs as far as that. So when Monty starts going, then I know our offensive line is really cooking. But yeah, the whole situation was not ideal. I don't think it. I don't blame Frank Ragnow at all. I don't blame the Lions at all. It's just the timeline of it all just sucked.
right.
But
No, I don't put any blame. Just crappy,
yeah,
crappy situation.
yep, yeah. It's the social media landscape. Are you is it something that you've blocked out now because it's a pretty crappy place to be in for a Lions fan right now, the whole social media landscape?
So the Lions social media thing does not bother me at all because people get on there and say whatever. They've always said whatever. The same people that are praising after the win are the people, quick after a loss, and the other teams obviously after a loss. But I have not. I've been trying to avoid social media because the Michigan Ohio State thing, because
Oh, okay.
Ohio State fans are insufferable on there. I try not to get bothered by stuff on social media, but and that's actually like anytime Michigan has lost to Ohio State, I have to stay off of like Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I will not be getting any arguments or seeing, which they won. Let them have their moment. They won. They waited a
yep,
while. It's,
they did.
it's fine. I just am not going to be reading their posts making fun of us.
Yeah, I know. I just Lion. It's hard. I've avoided it. Responded to a couple people here and there that I think have ridiculous takes or whatever. But it's a hard it's hard because I'm already down, and then I don't like seeing just a lot of negativity. I don't like living in that world. I don't want to be all positive. I like to be real, uh, but and trying to live in the moment. But I also like to live it like I like. I think I've said this a million times on this podcast. I look at where I'm at in life, either that's here with the Lions or whatever. What can I do here to get to where I want? Like, it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. I know what I want. I know what's good for the Lions. What do they need to do to get into the playoffs? Okay, that's what I'm going to root for. That's what I'm going to hope for. Am I realist that we've lost every other game? So going 4-1 is not automatic. It's going to take a change in this team. But do I think that change is impossible or, you know, like super hard to get to? No, I think that that's very possible for this team, for the light switch to hit, the right plays to happen. to get the right turnovers. We have not got turnovers in a while. Like those things come in bunches, and that's all we need is like that string of turnovers to happen. The ball pops out, and our guy is there to pick it up. We get the interception, those type of things. That's all we need. We just need to get that, and then we'll get that'll steamroll into something else. So I'm positive that we could get there, but I'm also realist that things got to start turning in our direction, or we're going to be sitting on the sideline in the playoffs. So we're going to have an extra long off season on this podcast.
Yeah, right. We don't want that.
No, we don't. So, anything else you want to talk about?
I'm good, man.
All right. I did not drop any quotes that I know of, but I had one that Preston is. So my oldest is doing a newspaper. They're doing a newspaper and an article. They just started this newspaper club, and I think it's going to lead in him to do newspaper in high school. So his buddy got the sports section. Preston ended up getting movie reviews, which is something he really likes. So I'm happy for him. But he watched a movie today, and the movie, in there says, I wanted to slip this in, but there wasn't anything I could. You said stupid that I could slip this in, but I wanted to slip this in. You sit on a throne of lies. That's what.
Oh,
That's so I know what you know. So if you know what movie that's from, and you know what he's writing an article on, then comment below because it's a awesome movie. And so it was fun working with him on that too, because like we were trying to structure an article. Like he was gonna just like his first idea was to just summarize the movie, and I'm like, you can't do a book report on a movie. Who's gonna read that? Like all your friends have seen this movie. They don't need someone to regurgitate. I'm like, it's helpful to have like a paragraph to just like summarize what the movie is. But then we need to come up with a hook. Like what's your hook? And so he decided to do for this particular movie. It's a Christmas movie. The looked at every Christmas movie since 2000 and try to defend why this one is the best, like a modern classic. And so we came up with like what goes into a Christmas movie, like what makes this a Christmas movie and that not a Christmas movie, like Die Hard. Like you got to have certain elements, right? And so we talked about that, and so he's got that in the article. So that was fun working with him. I think eventually, like he loves sports. I think this is eventually going to work into him covering school sports. But for right now, it's movie reviews, and it was a fun time working with him with that today.
right? No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There is a documentary. I don't know if you saw. It was like a Netflix show or whatever. It's called "The Movies That Made Us," and
Yes.
it's like through the background, like of how they made that movie, and like there's a bunch of like really popular, really good movies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, that's a good series. They also have I'm about I don't know a quarter way through this. There's an Eddie Murphy documentary that just came out on Netflix called Being Eddie. I know that you
Oh,
have a
yeah.
different relationship probably with him than I do. Growing up in the '80s, like uh, he's just an amazing comedic actor. Just love Eddie. So I'm going through that and can kind of reliving some of my favorite moments. Have you watched any more '80s? I know it's probably busy with Thanksgiving, but you probably not watch any more from that list, I would imagine.
I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Did you now? All right.
So I was going to mention it earlier, but I was like, well, he might ask at the end of the episode, and then we'll talk about
Yeah.
it later for the people that want to log off. But
Yeah.
yeah, I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I actually watched that. Man, was that Friday night, Thursday night on Thanksgiving? Well, because the movie takes place on Thanksgiving, or he's trying
It's
to
a
get home for
Thanksgiving movie. That's
but
perfect time to
yeah,
watch it. Yeah.
No, it was a good movie. I was surprised. I won't, some of the funny things that happened, it was like not really. It didn't land very well with me, but I thought the movie was pretty good. When he, when the rental car is missing, and he drives back and he starts like just cussing that woman out of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
He's like, the effing car in the effing spot. That was funny. That was unexpected. And especially as someone that works retail, I could see from her perspective, the people that just come up and start going off on you when you have nothing to do with it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, so
and the way she responds at the end with like, "Oh boy," he's like, "Oh boy, what?" And she's like, "You're effed."
Yeah, right.
I remember seeing that way too young. Like when I was a kid, like I should not have been seeing that scene because it kind of comes out of nowhere. Like the rest of the movie,
right.
I mean, there might be some minor
it was
swearing,
cleaner.
but like that scene is just like, wow. It comes out of nowhere, but that's really
like, man,
funny.
I'm glad the kids aren't paying attention.
Oh
When the
man,
car's on fire, that was also funny. Like once the car sets on fire, they still have to drive it.
I like when they're, it's early on, they're laying in bed together, and he's like, "Where's your hand between two pillows?" Those aren't pillows. Like those are
Right.
like that's a line that I would say with my friends all the time. Just like, where's your other hand between two pillows? And then they get up and they're like, Bears, yeah, the Bears. They got a hell of a team this year. Hell of a team. Yeah, that movie. There's so many great things. Like one of my favorite lines, and it's sports related in there too, is when they're in the car, and Steve Martin is telling John Candy all the annoying things or whatever he's saying, and John Candy's like, well, you do annoying things too, and he's like what? He goes, you fidget with your balls a lot.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you mean? He's like, you do more ball handling in a half an hour than Blair Bird does all night. And then he's like, you know what I'd want? He goes, another set of balls and another hand or something. Oh God.
That's
Oh,
right.
it's just so funny. I love John Candy. Like there's so many good 80s movies with John Candy that are just hilarious.
Have you ever watched the show Family Guy? Was that ever a
Oh
thing that
yeah.
you watched through or
hmm
yeah.
I
So
haven't watched
it was
like
funny
recently.
because
Yeah.
I haven't watched too recent either, but I used to watch like every week, every episode. And so this one, John Candy has a speech and he was like, you know what? I like me. It's like my wife likes me. And
Yeah.
like his speech, like he starts making it. I was like, oh my God, like now I get it because I recognized it from Family Guy right away.
Oh, okay.
But it's just one of those things like when I saw it in Family Guy, I hadn't seen the movie. So I had no idea what it was from. I figured, they make references and stuff, but I had no idea. But then
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching the speech in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'm like, oh my God, it's like word for word the same thing.
Yeah.
So that was funny
It
too.
it's hilarious. I've had that experience too, where like you knew like that saying from something I don't, from whatever you see. It's like it'd be like for a kid hearing a cover band sing a song and thinking that they
Yeah.
sang it, and then you realize it like, no, that's a Red Hot Chili Pepper song or whatever. Just you don't know where that originally came from. And then you put two and two together, like, oh, that isn't their song. I've had that situation. I've actually had it things that I say all the time that Sarah will, you know, Sarah like Sarah will think it's just something I made up, but then we'll watch a movie and she's like, "Oh, that's why you say that," and like that happens like all the time. I'm like, yes, I'm not
Nice.
really that funny or original. I just copy
Yeah.
everything
Just
that
full of
is said.
movie quotes and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It is. I think it's hilarious, and it also is. You know, just the whole awkward situation between them, the whole movie is just, just so funny to me. And then it has a very nice ending at the very nice
Right, right.
thing. So I don't know. There's like apparently there's like a 3 hour cut somewhere, like a director's cut that was out
Oh
there,
wow.
and there's like whole plot lines that are cut out of there. And one of them is that Steve Martin's wife thinks that Dell is actually a girl, and that he's been cheating on her
Oh,
the whole movie. And so like you kind of get it if you watch the movie, like what does this have to do with you being in Wichita, like all those kind of like things. You could see it from the angle that okay, she thinks that Steve Martin's cheating on her. But so I like it. How long is that movie? Is it an hour and a half or is it longer?
it's about an hour and a half, I think. It
Yeah, so
wasn't too
like
long.
it moves really fast, and I think that's great for the movie. It just like we talked about last time, 80s movies just
Right.
move super
Right.
super fast. All
Uh
right.
it's another one though that I was thinking of like this doesn't work now. Like how
Oh
Home Alone, you're like, oh well, that I don't think that would really work necessarily now. It's another one
yeah,
where it's like, you know what? There's way too many. Maybe not like the actual thing of being stuck could happen and everything, but like where like his wallet burns, like he doesn't have access to like a phone. There's like
yeah,
the night where it's like, okay, like you said, his wife doesn't even know where he's at. He doesn't
yeah,
even barely know where he's at and everything. It's like, well, that
yeah.
doesn't really land as much. I also thought it was funny that so like really early on in the movie, Kevin Bacon is in the movie
hmm
and it's like trying to fight him for the taxi or whatever. I
Yeah.
then thought that Kevin Bacon was going to be like a central villain or something was going to be
Oh
happening with him in the movie. No, he's just there to steal the cab.
yeah, he's there in like six. Yeah, like to me when I was younger, that was the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. because he's in this movie for like 6 seconds. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, you think that you're gonna see him more, and no, he's just there for that little bit.
right, right. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay. Well, he just never came back.
yep. Yeah, it's hilarious. All right, well, I'm glad you got to watch that one. That's a great day to watch it on Thanksgiving. So what do you have left of the 5 that I gave you then?
I have seen all of those now.
You've
I
seen all
well,
of
I
them
have
now?
not rewatched Back to the Future. Oh, I
Okay,
have not
well,
rewatched Ghostbusters.
okay, all right.
I
When's the
went to
last time
rewatch
you watched
Ghostbusters
Ghostbusters all the way through?
maybe two Halloweens ago, 2 or 3
Okay.
Halloweens ago.
So it's been recent.
That's
So
been more
okay.
recent, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
tried to watch Ghostbusters. It's not streaming anywhere.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, you can buy it for $3.99. Well, I
Yeah.
own Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. There's like tons of movies that are streaming everywhere. That's.
Yeah.
So that's why I skipped that one.
Now, have your kids seen Ghostbusters?
No, I wanted to get them. So before we even started doing this, I wanted to get them to see it this year. And I
Okay.
recognized that it wasn't streaming like before, this was after school had started, like maybe the beginning of October. It wasn't streaming anywhere. So Ghostbusters 2, I think, was streaming, but not the original Ghostbusters.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious what your kids think because, like, honestly, like a lot of those '80s like movies that are kind of like kid. I think Ghostbusters 2 is way more kid friendly than the first Ghostbusters. But I remember seeing Ghostbusters when I was a kid. So, and my brother, I remember him watching it every day when he was in preschool. We were huge Ghostbusters fans, but
Nice.
80s kids movies are totally different than 2000s kids movies. Like 2000s kids movies are very washed out. There's hardly any adult content, but they freely swear in these. There's sexual references, just like
Right.
when you were an 80s kid, you just watched whatever. Like it didn't matter. Like and they invented PG-13. I don't know if you know this, but PG-13 was not invented as a rating until like 1984. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was the last one that was rated PG, and it was because of that they came out with a PG-13 rating.
Nice.
Because like Ghostbusters is PG, it's definitely a PG-13 movie. Like if you were looking at it now, you're like, oh, it's PG movie. No, there's a lot of like swearing and just adult, like Venkman and uh, which she's like, do you want this body? And he's like, it sounds like there's already one, it sounds like there's already 2 people in there. We don't need to have another. And it's just like, just crazy adult humor. But yeah, that is like, I can't. I'm curious, like if your kids watch that, we definitely need to talk about that because I'm curious. My kids
Yes.
love it, but I'm curious what your kid like if they get scared, or if like they think it's hilarious or if they think it's stupid. But I think that they'll like it. Um, it's
I'll let you
weirdly
know when
like
we do.
it's weirdly that like I gotta tell you, like 90s CG does not hold up as well as like 80s CG for whatever reason. Like I think there's a lot more practical things in the 80s, but like, obviously them shooting the proton packs, that's all CG. The ghosts are CG. But for whatever reason, whatever techniques that you use hold up way better than when they tried to shoehorn computer graphics when the computers weren't ready in like the 90s and early 2000s. Like that takes me right
Right.
out of a movie. And
Right.
maybe it's because I'm used to this 80s stuff, but I really think that certain things like Ghostbusters, those CG really hold up really well, which is really weird when you think about like how long ago that was.
We'll be the judge of that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious what your kids think. I mean, there's
Right.
obviously a couple big CG things like with the terror dogs and stuff in there that look pretty bad, but for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. Looks better than some of that 90s stuff, like I said.
Yeah.
But all right,
All right.
man. I think we head out of here. So if you hung on with the last 15 minutes talking of movies again, I appreciate you. Big fans. But see if you get that quote. Tell me what movie it's from. Comment below. For Jacob, I'm Jason.